Today is Friday, June 16th. We are talking about a cyber attack that targeted some of the biggest government agencies, universities, banks, and state governments in the U.S. Who's behind it and what they say they're really after. Also, a U.S. Supreme Court case that pitted Native American tribes against a foster couple from Texas. Plus, what some of the biggest ticketing companies are doing about hidden fees. Netflix wants to help you binge on not just shows, but food, too. And firefighters found a time capsule from more than 100 years ago. We'll tell you what was inside. Those stories and more news to know coming up. Welcome to The Newsworthy. All the day's news in around 10 minutes. Fast, fair, fun, and on the go. I'm Erica Mandy. Thanks so much for being here. You ready? Let's do this. Native American tribal leaders are celebrating a high court ruling that they say helps them preserve their families' traditions and cultures. In a 7-2 vote, the U.S. Supreme Court upheld key parts of the law known as the Indian Child Welfare Act. It first went into effect in 1978, and that was after a congressional investigation found more than a third of Native American children in the 1950s, 60s, and 70s were removed from their homes and placed with non-Native families and institutions. So the law lays out priorities for Native American children when they're adopted or put into foster care. The first preference is placement with the child's extended family, then to other members of the tribe. And if neither of those is available, the third preference is members of another tribe. The state of Texas and non-Native adoptive parents challenged that law. They say child custody cases, even involving Native American children, should be a matter of state law. And they say the law violates equal protection principles by prioritizing placements based on race. Most justices rejected the first argument, saying it's fine for federal law to impose duties on these kinds of state matters. But they didn't actually weigh in on the question of race for procedural reasons. So they decided to leave the law intact for now, but that question of race could come up again in later cases. By the way, the High Court still has several more major rulings to hand out over the next couple of weeks, including on affirmative action, student loans, and civil rights for gay people. To be continued. Several federal government agencies have been hit by a global ransomware attack, and Russian cybercriminals are thought to be behind it. The hacking campaign has also hit major American banks, universities, and state governments. And one official from the U.S. Cybersecurity and Infrastructure Security Agency says several hundred companies and organizations in the U.S. could be impacted as well. Hackers have apparently been exploiting a flaw in a widely used file transfer tool known as MoveIt. The company behind the software has rolled out patches to fix the security flaws that have made it possible for hackers to exploit it, but not before a lot of information was already compromised. The ransomware group gave victims until this week to pay a ransom, saying in return it will delete or decrypt stolen files. So far, no stolen data has been published, but there has been a list of victims, and the government agencies are not on that list. In fact, the hackers wrote, quote, "If you are a government, city, or police service, don't worry, we erased all your data." They say they have no interest in exposing that information. Still, researchers say more victims are expected to be revealed in the coming days and weeks, and American law enforcement is still investigating. Federal investigators are starting to get to the bottom of one of the deadliest building failures in American history. They now say the Florida apartment building that collapsed a couple of years ago had been vulnerable for decades. Remember, the condo collapsed in Surfside, Florida, near Miami, and 98 people died. Well, now investigators are pointing to design flaws in the pool deck that was constructed back in 1981. They say it didn't even comply with the original code and standards from when it was first built. And then over the next 4 decades, there was corrosion, plus renovations like the addition of large planters with palm trees that placed a heavier load than the deck was designed to hold. So the leading theory is that the whole collapse started when the pool deck failed. This is just a preliminary report, but it's based on thousands of hours of work over the last 2 years, interviewing witnesses, examining design documents, and more. Investigators are not expected to release their final report for another 2 years. Meanwhile, it's still not clear if anyone will end up facing criminal charges related to the collapse. But a developer has already submitted plans for a new 12-story beachfront condo at the same site. Severe storms that moved across the southern U.S. became especially damaging in the Texas Panhandle. A tornado killed 3 people and hurt dozens more. Homes, cars, and businesses were also destroyed. And the severe weather threat continues. More than 10 million Americans from Colorado to the mid-Atlantic are under a threat of hail, damaging winds, and tornadoes today. Meanwhile, in the Northeast, those apocalyptic-like thick orange fumes that hung over the area last week could return today. Winds have started to drive wildfire smoke from Canada back into the U.S. Already yesterday, the upper Midwest was dealing with dangerously high air quality readings. Now the smoke is moving east over the Great Lakes, and it's expected to reach the East Coast today into tomorrow. The last time the Northeast was dealing with these issues, they ended up delaying flights, closing schools, and sending people to the hospital with respiratory issues. The smog is not expected to be quite as dense as it was last week, but meteorologists say it will still be noticeable. Canada is still dealing with one of its worst wildfire seasons on record, and the fire season hasn't even peaked yet. So more smoky days could still be ahead. All right, we have much more news for you still coming up, but first, this episode is sponsored by AG1. I was intrigued by the nutrition supplement AG1 for a while, so I was really excited to try it. And I was surprised at how beneficial it is so quickly. It was much faster than I expected that I noticed a difference, and I really wish I would have started drinking AG1 even earlier. It's now part of my morning routine. It's just 1 scoop mixed with water. It helps me save time, and I can take it on the go whenever needed. I've really noticed it helps me feel energized. I'm not reaching for coffee or tea nearly as much as I used to, and I don't need to take a million different pills each day. Just 1 daily scoop of AG1 covers my day's nutritional basis and supports my long-term gut health. We're talking 75 high-quality vitamins, minerals, and whole food-sourced ingredients. I like to add ice and a splash of lemon juice to mine, and it's really nice tasting and easy to drink. So if you're looking for a simpler, effective investment for your health, try AG1. And get 5 free AG1 travel packs and a free 1-year supply of vitamin D with your first purchase. Go to drinkag1.com/newsworthy. That's drinkag1.com/newsworthy. Check it out. The next round of COVID-19 shots are already in the works. And this week, a panel of vaccine experts told the FDA they should target the XBB variant that's now responsible for nearly every COVID case in the U.S. Data shows XBB has also been starting to overpower current vaccines that were meant to target variants that are no longer circulating. So the full FDA is expected to accept the panel's recommendation. And vaccine makers say they'll be ready with updated vaccines that will likely be available within months. Now the question is, will Americans be interested in actually getting them? Just 17% of Americans got the last round of boosters, but they are still recommended. Next time you buy tickets to a live event, you may notice a change. Pretty soon, a couple of the most popular ticketing websites will be showing all costs up front. Starting in September, Ticketmaster will default to display the all-in price. So that means the price that includes mandatory fees that right now aren't shown until later on in the checkout process. SeatGeek also says it's going to unveil new tools over the summer that are meant to let customers compare all-in prices. Bipartisan groups of lawmakers have actually been considering forcing vendors to display the total price off the bat. It's not clear if the steps Ticketmaster and SeatGeek announced this week will be enough for them, since their bills go even further, saying sellers should have to give customers an itemized list of each fee associated with a ticket. And some lawmakers think ticketing companies should actually rein in fees and not just be transparent about them. The Government Accountability Office says extra fees add an average of 27% to primary ticket sales and 31% to tickets bought on secondary markets. Starting today, Mercedes is adding a new high-tech perk to its luxury vehicles, ChatGPT. The automaker is the first to add OpenAI's chatbot to its vehicles. It's expected to be a big advancement to the Hey Mercedes voice assistant. With it, people will be able to interact with it more and ask follow-up questions, among other things. Customers can enroll through the Mercedes app or directly from the vehicle by using the voice command, "Hey Mercedes, I want to join the beta program." The automaker says it will monitor how it goes for 3 months, see what people want to use it for, and listen to customer feedback, then consider integrating the tech even further. It also says all the data it collects will be anonymous and will stay within its control. Netflix is expanding beyond streaming into food service. It's opening a pop-up restaurant called Netflix Bites. It will feature dishes curated by chefs from Netflix cooking shows like Chef's Table, Nailed It, and Iron Chef: Quest for an Iron Legend. Plus, mixologists from Netflix's Drink Masters will create custom cocktails. The restaurant will open at the end of this month in Los Angeles, just down the road from where Netflix opened up its first pop-up retail store with fan merch. So far, Netflix has not said exactly what will be on the menu, but people can start making reservations now. Well, this Sunday is Father's Day, and here in the U.S., shoppers are planning to shell out big bucks to celebrate Dad. The National Retail Federation's annual survey found Americans will spend nearly $23 billion on Father's Day gifts and celebrations this year. That's the highest amount on record. It averages out to about $196 per person. The survey found more than half of people will treat their dads by taking them out for a special meal or planning other fun activities. Popular gifts include clothes, personal care items, tools, electronics, and sporting equipment. To all the dads out there listening, happy Father's Day. Well, that's it for the main news today, so now it's time for Feel Good Friday, when we bring you one extra feel-good or positive news story before the weekend. But first, I want to let you know about our sponsor, HelloFresh. If you're feeling stuck in a recipe rut and you want to switch things up this summer, check out HelloFresh, where you get farm-fresh, pre-portioned ingredients and seasonal recipes delivered right to your door. HelloFresh has options to please even the pickiest eaters, and I like that they have delicious but convenient meals that will help when you need dinner, like now. I recently tried their new fast and fresh options that are ready in just 15 minutes or less. For example, we made their chicken and tomato grain bowls with garlicky white sauce and lemon. It was so good. My whole family ate it up, and it felt like a breeze. So this summer, you can spend less time meal planning and prepping because HelloFresh sends you these pre-portioned ingredients that make it easier, faster, and less wasteful to make a meal at home. And by the way, Green Chef is now owned by HelloFresh, so no matter which you choose, there's something for everyone. Go to HelloFresh.com/newsworthy16 and use code newsworthy16 for 16 free meals plus free shipping. Again, go to HelloFresh.com/newsworthy16 and use that code newsworthy16 for 16 free meals plus free shipping. Okay, now back to Feel Good Friday. An Ohio fire department got a glimpse at the past thanks to a time capsule hidden back in 1905. A few weeks ago, off-duty firefighters were removing a cornerstone from their old fire station that was about to be demolished when they discovered a small copper box. The fire captain says the department has already done so much research about its history, looked at old records and newspapers, and never saw anything about a time capsule. So it was a pretty big surprise. Inside, there was a ton of memorabilia, including 9 fire department badges from the turn of the century, an invitation to a fireman's games event from 1878, 4 newspapers from 1905, and a lot more. Now the firefighters are planning to take one of those items and add it to a new time capsule that will be buried in the construction of the new fire station. They're hoping another 118 years will pass before the new capsule is opened, and someone else will have as much fun paying homage to the history and legacy of the fire department. All right, be sure to join us again tomorrow for our special edition Saturday episode. We'll be doing a deep dive into the biggest political story right now, federal charges against former President Trump. And we are talking about it from a lot of different angles in this episode, ranging from national security to media bias. Then join us again Monday for your next news roundup. For now, thank you so much for listening and have a great weekend.